Hello and welcome to the Bar Studio School. I'm Oliver Bennett.
I'm Isaac Wild.
And I'm Laura Snook. Today I am here interviewing Jess Milton from the Bath and North East Somerset Independent Group for the local councillor elections. Obviously, the Bath and North East Somerset Independent Group are a group, however it's an independent group. So what is different about BIG compared to the established political parties such as the Green Party?
So we're not involved in party politics at all. And we think that local people need to be involved in local decision making. So that's kind of why we exist, is to facilitate that.
Why did you decide to get into politics?
I think really it was a frustration with grassroots community activism, which I love and have been involved with quite a lot since I moved to Bath in 2013. But then I worked for the council for a while and I saw that actually people feel the same way within the council. So it seems like actually there's a lot that you can do in that position of a councillor where you can kind of build bridges between the council and people who live in this place. And that's why I wanted to get involved.
Have you ever been a member of, say, a conventional political party?
No, I haven't.
I understand that you are bidding on being the youngest woman on the BANES council. What do you feel that your age will bring?
Well, if you look at the list of councillors on the Bath and North East Somerset website, they're mostly over 50 and mostly white males. And there's not really a voice that represents young people. Joe Raymond's obviously there. He was 24 when he started. But actually, I think it's really important that we have a representative.
Adds the young person's perspective.
Exactly. And I think there's a wider problem as well that being a councillor, isn't a well-paid job, and it does take a lot of time. So on the whole, people who can do it are retired, and that kind of prevents people who are parents or carers or who have other work responsibilities from being able to engage, and that's the problem.
Yeah. So you're planning on standing for Keynsham South in the local elections. What issues do you feel are most prevalent within your ward?
Well, it's similar to actually most things across the country. So a lot of it's to do with congestion, traffic and air quality. A lot of it kind of intermingling with that is public transport. So
how do you feel about the one-way system?
I think we need to look at the evidence on it.
Yeah.
So does it improve the air quality?
No, because going through it all the time, you kind of think, they don't go through that bit now, so maybe on that road or something, there's like better air quality. But all it's doing is making more of a congestion, and surely cars going slower through, and heavy traffic now.
Yeah.
It's just going to cause more.
Ultimately, what we need is behaviour change. So we need to put the infrastructure in place for public transport, like buses or cycle routes.
Yeah, that's not very good.
So people can drive less on the whole, because really that's what we need to be moving towards.
As somebody who isn't representing Bath Ward, do you feel that Bath is prioritised over the outskirts of Bath and North East Somerset?
It's a tough one. I mean, in my experience, actually not really. There's a lot of work being done in the surrounding areas of Bath as well. And I know people who live in Bath say that, all the other areas get all of the attention from the council and Bath gets neglected. So I think it's a little bit of people kind of want their doorstep to be taken care of, which is fair enough.
From the research that we've conducted, we discovered that you were passionate about transport. Obviously, there's been several different opinions broadcasted surrounding the clean air zone being changed. What do you feel would be the correct motion to be put in place?
I think that cars need to be included, otherwise it doesn't make the impact that it needs to make. When you look at the data, the proposed cars now, it kind of pushes the congestion out and it doesn't actually address the problem that we're faced with. So the council were given a summons by DEFRA, the Department for Farming and Agriculture, to improve the air quality, and they got given a grant to do that. And actually now it seems like, because we're coming up to elections, they've decided that they don't want to make a controversial decision and have kind of backtracked on it and edited the data. And that in itself is problematic, but also we actually need to address, like I just said, our behaviour in order to improve the air quality, and we need to improve the public buses.
Get them passionate about buses.
Yeah, but it's also about our health as people. If we walked a little bit more, and obviously not everybody can, but there are lots of people who make journeys by car that could be done on foot or by bike.
Necessary. It's a bit moderation a little bit.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just unnecessary.
And we'd be healthier for it as well, so it's kind of a win-win.
What do you feel are the biggest issues faced when it comes to transport?
Political will, honestly. and profit-making transport companies. So as long as there are bus services that are run by companies that want to make money, then they're not necessarily going to be the most efficient, because there's money that's being put into the pockets of those companies that isn't going to be put into the bus service, right? So people drive into town because it's cheaper to park their car than it is to get the bus with their 2 kids, for example. So if the buses were £1 a journey, or fixed price for however far you're going, like in London, then that would make a huge impact. I think it's in Brighton, they've got public ownership of the buses now, so there's no incentive to make a profit. So you can just put all the money back into the service and make it more improved, yeah.
Yeah. So we also discovered that you were passionate about housing. What would you plan to do with regards to the severe lack of affordable housing?
So collectively, we want to scrutinise every inch of council-owned land and make sure that it's being put to the best use. A lot of land ownership now is effectively tax-free, and that's why people don't develop on it, because they want to see if they can basically earn more money from this land if it's land banked. So yeah, part of our policy would be to build more social housing that's actually affordable.
Yeah, because obviously people tend to move out from Bath to the surrounding areas because there is more in the surrounding areas. However, the surrounding areas are now losing their additional housing due to people moving out to these areas.
Yeah.
Do you think there's any way in which that can be combated?
Yeah, well, I think it's part of a wider problem as well, that in Bath there's a lot of hospitality and tourism work, but there's not that much available for graduates to go into. So people come here and then they realise actually there's not much work opportunity, so they move elsewhere because they can't afford to stay here and work in hospitality or tourism, right? So if we had more affordable housing and more business start-up incubation, then that would sort of address both problems with one solution.
Yeah.
But I think with regards to the places kind of further outside of Bath, we just need to make sure that the infrastructure is there to support all of those new developments.
Yeah. So you mentioned graduates then. Do you feel that having the 2 universities in Bath damages its economy in some ways?
I don't think it's damaging. I just feel like there's more that could be made of that relationship. The council doesn't really work that much with students from either university. And, for example, on the CAS, none of the students at Bath University were approached for advice, and you've got some of the best transport psychologists around just there at your fingertips, and they're not involved in decision making.
Yeah, they're not using the students for what they're doing the best.
Exactly. So I feel like the council could actually make more of an effort to build those relationships, and also, again, having new start-up businesses in the area would mean that graduates can stay on. Because most of the people that I went to university with in Bath are now, if they're still in this area, they're working in hospitality with a degree and trying to do their degree on the side. It's not good enough.
Leading on from this, obviously students are a large percentage of the community within BANES. So how do you feel that they contribute to the community?
As somebody who was a student here, I understand the kind of tension between non-student residents and students who live here. I was out canvassing yesterday and I spoke to a lady she lives in Bathwick, just by the University of Bath, and she was saying how unfair she feels it is that they're given such a priority, and all this money is just going into the university and they don't pay council tax, and she felt sort of like she wasn't getting what she wanted from the council because they're prioritising students. And it's a really tricky balance to get, but I think actually if the council proposed that the universities pay council tax on behalf of the students, then that might ease some of the tensions. Actually. Yeah. So I think it's a lot to do with the council tax.
And with the amount that students are now paying to universities, it does make you think it would be achievable for the universities to pay some.
Yeah, I think another issue with that is around the purpose-built accommodation, and people saying, there's not enough family homes for us to live here, which is a valid point. And I think the council, again, could be a little bit more proactive in their building regulations and what they accept in terms of planning. Some of the student accommodation is just so expensive that I think actually the students are getting a raw deal as well. Yeah. So it doesn't benefit anybody, really.
As Keynsham still has its police station, do you feel that there has been any backlash due to the closure of Bath's police station?
They're recently starting up a new police station, aren't they?
Yeah, they want to reopen it. Yeah, And yeah, I know a lot of residents in Bath are quite upset that they don't have a police station, and they feel like it's...
Because there was a lot of vandalism recently, wasn't there, in the Bath? Did you hear about that?
The Extinction Rebellion? Oh, right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was mainly said that it's because there was lack of a police presence.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's a problem that's kind of sweeping the nation.
Yeah.
The knife crime in London has gone up massively, and Theresa May is saying it's nothing to do with police numbers, but read what you like into that, I suppose.
When it comes to the local elections on the 2nd of May, why do you believe that we should vote for you?
Because it's different. Big is a whole different party. You know, you've seen what happens if you vote for the Conservative, you've seen what happens if you vote Lib Dem. Labour have never really had a strong seat here. And from the people I've spoken to, a lot of people feel quite disenfranchised with politics generally, and they don't know who to vote for because in Westminster it's a mess, in Bath and North East Somerset, so many people are feeling like they're not being heard. You know, the campaign with the Safe Bathampton Meadows, with the Park and Ride, the Libraries campaign. There's been a lot of examples lately of the council failing to really engage in democratic decision-making processes with residents, and that's something that I'm really passionate about. You know, I think actually as politicians, as councillors, we are here to serve the community, and we need people to hold us to account so that we do what we say we're going to do, right?
Exactly.
And we need to actually have those processes of engagement so we can know what we need to do. And in my experience living here for the past, 6 years, that doesn't really get done. And people, I think, are feeling so distanced from politics generally because it feels irrelevant.
Yeah.
You know, it's not many people who I've spoken to who actually know who their councillor is or what they're supposed to do or what the options are. And I think unless that's resolved, then it's really difficult to actually understand what residents want.
Yeah. Obviously, with all of the unsettledness with Brexit coming up, do you feel that that's making people even more disengaged with politics, especially impacting their local council?
I think Brexit has caused a lot of trouble for local authorities generally because everyone in Westminster is so preoccupied with that. So you've got the Local Government Association who are supposed to be able to go and lobby the government, right? Because councils are getting less and less money from central government. And actually they're not getting really anywhere because everyone's focused on Brexit. And so the council here provides over 800 services. It's a unitary authority, and it's now, the funding's getting cut year on year, and it's going to go down to nothing in 2020. And that's a struggle, right? So we need support from central government, and we're not getting it because they're focused on Brexit. And I think, again, people are just disenfranchised with the whole process.
Yeah.
It seems like it's been going on for a long time, and people are kind of sick of hearing about it, and they don't think they have any autonomy in the decision.
Yeah. So, kind of leading on from that, do you feel that there is anything that local councillors could do to almost re-engage their residents with the political world as it is today?
Probably something like your group that's just new, a little bit more of a fresher take on it.
Yeah, and also we're all residents. You know, we're not politicians in practice. We care about local issues and we want to facilitate that engagement, and that's where we're different. I think in the world of the council, it's very easy to feel like you're trying hard to get the message out, and it can be frustrating because it seems like people just aren't seeing it and they're not hearing it. But if that's the case, then you need to try something new. You know, you can't keep doing the same thing and expect different results. So I think councillors need to be much more visible. They need to go to the places where their residents are. So I'm in a cafe in Keynsham every Thursday for a couple of hours, and people know where to find me. I'm going to be there every week. I'm on Facebook, I'm on social media. You know, I'm trying to use the tools that people know, and actually having a council meeting in a town hall on a weekday evening, lots of people aren't going to come.
Yeah. Do you feel that in some ways the way you've learnt that is due to being a younger person, knowing that people just can't sometimes access the services and how they're provided?
I mean, I think it's also because I worked in the council, and I can understand lots of the people who work there are really trying to make people aware of what's going on, but they're doing it on the council website or, you know, at the library and the volunteer service, and just lots of people don't see it there. But I think a lot of what I've learnt is also from activism. You can achieve huge amounts with no budget and loads of people working full-time jobs and doing it because they're passionate about it. So I think, to be honest, we need to just get out there and be in the streets and be more visible in that respect. Yeah.
So almost passion is the best tool you could have.
Yeah, and there's some councillors who have been councillors since before I was born.
Yeah.
So as big, a lot of us as candidates think we're not going to stand for more than 2 terms. Just so more people can come in with fresh ideas, keep shaking it up.
Yeah. Thank you very much for coming.
Thanks.